good for the camera.
So how y'all are? This is your buddy George Jones up here at the Knob Creek Gun Range with my buddy Kenny Sumner. I have so many comments and so many questions and comments about Knob Creek that I thought we'd do an interview with Kenny about Knob Creek, what it does, how it got started. So, how did this asylum get started?
Well, years ago, we're going to go back to 1964.
Talking about Grandpa Butch.
Grandpa.
Yeah.
Grandpa bought this place from Fort Knox. Fort Knox auctioned off this piece of property in 1964, and my grandpa bought it. And at that time, they turned it into a gun range. I mean, already it was a naval proving ground.
Right.
They were testing the 3-inch and 6-inch guns out here on the line. So all that stuff had to be cleared out, the crane system and everything, and they put up an awning and made some concrete shooting benches and everything. And from the get-go, it was a shooting range. Probably at that time, individuals that actually wanted to shoot on the range would have to go to the hardware store where my dad had his little gun shop and get a key. They would pick up a key there, come down here, let themselves in, shoot, and then they take the key back to my dad. And it was a big whopping $2 range fee to shoot at that time. So
1965, that was a lot of money.
that was a lot of money then, but still affordable. So that went on for probably 4 or 5 years, and then we had an individual that come down here and watch the range. He collected range fees here, so people didn't have to go up to the hardware store to get the key and come down here. So this was the old man, Colonel Mercer. So he ran the range for probably 6 or 8 years, and then he moved on. He had better things to do with his life, I guess. And after Colonel Mercer came in, we had Lawrence and Betty. They ran the range. They had a little shop in here, and I think they sold coffee at the time. But they ran it for probably about 6 years or so, maybe 8. And then they wanted to retire because they were older folks and, wanted to enjoy the golden years, such as me, like I want to do right now. But that's when my dad offered me to come down here and run the gun range. And at that time, I was working at Orwell Hardware, making a whopping $100 a week to come down here to make $80 a week. So I took a pay cut, but at that time, my dad said, you run the range, you can make it or break it. So I said, okay, I'll give it a go. And here I am, 40 plus years away, and I've still been making it. I'm not Donald Trump or anything, but I've survived for 40 years. But along with that, my dad actually started the machine gun shoot in the early 70s, 72, 73. And at that time, I was just 12 years old, and we helped him set up the targets out there on the range, and it was just a handful of his friends. There was probably 6 or 8 guys the first time at the original machine gun shoot, so there wasn't a big passel of folks like we had at the last one. But each year that he'd done it, a few more would come in there, sort of snowballed a little bit. Yeah. And after he'd done it for about 6 years, he turned it over to me. He says, okay, son, you got the range, and now you're going to do the machine gun shoot. I said, okay, we'll give it a go. So I took over the machine gun shoot, and when I first started, it was just once a year, and the people liked it so much, we said, well, we'll give it a go and see if we can do it twice a year. So from probably 85 on,
85 is when I discovered it.
was when we started doing it twice a year.
Yeah.
And of course, our first gun show that we did out here. I acquired 6 20 by 30 tarpaulins, and we bolted them all together and taped the seams and propped them up with 2x4s, and we put about 30 tables under this makeshift awning, and that's where our gun show started initially.
I remember that.
And after that, people liked the gun show, so we purchased Army tents, the GP medium tents, and we bought like 6 of those, and the next shoot we had 6 tents, and we could fit 8 tables in a tent, so we had like 48 tables, and we had people wanting to come out and set up in the show area, so we acquired more tents, and each year we'd add 6 or 8 tents, and it got up to where we had about 30 of these GP medium tents. Call it Tent City, I guess you'd say.
I remember you come to the gun show and it'd be like you're walking into a World War II invasion camp. It looked like Eastern England.
Yeah.
Wonder where the landing boats are at.
So, you know, the vendors and the spectators alike had obstacles, tent pegs, because there was plenty of tent pegs with 30 tents. So, needless to say, people were tripping around on the tent.
Had $1 for every Lord's name in vain that was ever said at the tent show, you'd been rich.
For sure. And then we got tired of messing with the tents, patching the holes in them and stuff like that. So we ventured out to build a small pole barn, which initially was about 40 by probably 100, might have been 150 feet, but we put a show together under there. I don't know really how many tables we got fit into there, but we filled it up with vendors, and we said, well, this is pretty good, let's add on to it. So we added another 40 by the same distance, 100 feet.
I remember when this section of building was built,
Yeah,
and was just roughed in, you know, half of the show was in this building.
yeah.
And I remember I'd sold about 200 head of hog, and I had a big wad of money in my billfold, and I came in here and bought a Dragunov rifle, and was broke again.
Yeah, you'd have to sell a whole lot of hogs now to get it out. After we did that, again, the show was just growing. It just kept growing, and we kept adding on to the pole barn. We'd added on a wing to the left, and we added on a wing to the right, then we added on to the back of it, and then we added on to the front of it, and it was just like, after years of adding on, it was time to tear it all down and build a all new structure. One that didn't have as many leaks in it, one with better lighting, because all we had was the screw-in incandescent bulbs at the time in the old building, and you couldn't hardly see anything in there. It was best to bring a flashlight with you if you were going shopping. But we put the new pole barn up with fluorescent lights and everything. Still had a gravel floor, which, you know, people would turn their ankles and stuff on the rocks and stuff.
I like the gravel floor.
And it would stir up some dust.
I could spit in the gravel floor. When you put the concrete down, I had to walk around with a can.
So years of concrete floor, we finally afforded concrete, or the gravel. So finally got a concrete floor, and that was really nice. Table setup was easy, and vendors could stroll through the aisles and not have to worry about stirring up dust clouds and cleaning their guns for weeks after they leave the show.
For the camera's purpose, we would all come and set up tables, and there was what? How many hundred tables was it?
There's about 700.
700 tables. So he would invite all of his buddies in, and hangers-on and camp followers from the range and the store, and we would all assemble tables, prelude to getting to the machine gun shoot gun show, and then he'd take us all out to eat. And
Cheap labor, it was worth every penny of it.
it was worth every penny of it.
So that come to our 50th year, and of course there was a couple years there with the COVID and rioting and everything that took place in America, where we couldn't do any shoots because of that. Then we finally got around to our 50th year and made that our grand finale. So we went out with a bang, I guess you'd say. Had more people here than we could stir with the stick. And I appreciated everybody that's come for the past 50 years. And sorry, but there won't be another shoot unless somebody can purchase this place and start one up again.
Ain't gonna be me.
Because I'm done.
I came into Kenny, a friend of mine was running the jungle walk operation with the Uzi and so forth down the hill. And he wanted out of it, and Kenny put me down there to work on it. And I worked the jungle walk for about 7 years. And as a firearms instructor with a lot of experience, I thought, well, that won't be too awful hard. Boy, you want to fly by the seat of your pants trying to teach a greenhorn how to use an Uzi in 15 minutes without him killing everybody in the county with it.
Yeah.
But, you know, we didn't have any problems. We
Yeah.
didn't have any accidental discharges, we didn't have any accidents, nobody got hurt in 7 years that I was doing it. And it was on for 25 years altogether, nobody ever got hurt on that thing.
Yeah. No, and done a lot of competitions. Of course, you know, shooting at steel targets, so occasionally you'll get a little fragment of brass come back and hit somebody, but that's with anything. Nothing too major happened on the range in all these years. All the millions of rounds that went down range, we've only had really one fatality.
But it wasn't even a range fatality, it was a heating accident.
Well, that was in the campground
Yeah.
where they asphyxiated themselves in the tent. But this little girl was shooting a triple minigun, and her dad stepped back to film her, and this thing, when she's pulling the trigger, it rose up, and you know, she stopped shooting, thank God, because there's people behind, you know, watching. It stopped shooting, she let off the trigger, I guess, when it got up, straight up and down, and it fell back on her and just crushed her right there on the firing line. And talking about heartbreaking,
Yeah.
it was tough. That was a tough year, a tough shoot there.
I remember when it happened. I wasn't there, didn't see it, but I was here when it happened. And it was a real catastrophe and a heartbreaking event, but episode. Well, now what do we do now? What's going on in terms of matches and other activities besides the retail store?
Well, we are still open for regular shooting. People come out and target practice. We are closed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but the range hours are 9 to 6 all the rest of the time. We do have cowboy action shooting, which is the first Sunday of every month. And we do a practical pistol, or the Kentuckiana Practical Defense League, KPDL. They do a match the second Saturday of every month. So if you're into that kind of stuff, come down and give it a look-see. You might want to join in with them and participate.
Offer CCDW classes still?
We do the concealed carry classes. I said do. But
okay.
the concealed carry class, we do that class on the third Saturday of every month. So anybody that would like to participate in that, third Saturday, it's only $75. And Ken Pagano is our teacher. And he does a bang-up job. We're glad to have him.
All right, then. I guess that's about the size of it, ain't it?
That's Knob Creek in a nutshell. So, yeah, we're still here and still banging away. So, come out and join us. Buy a gun. We do sell guns. Guns and ammo. So, we got all that stuff too. So, to satisfy your craving for guns and ammo, we can do that.
All right, then. I guess that's about the size of it. Like I take Sheriff Pike commentating some scribble. Get out there and check on the old people in your community a little bit. God bless America. God bless you, me, and Donald Trump. We'll see you when we see you. Bye now. And that's like where the board comes down there. Yeah,